Good morning, guys. We are the presenting team. We are the group 5. I'm Daniel George Tiricamonte, and I'm with Miss Marjorie Lente, Miss Alexandria Samarita, Miss Annette Guen Balbin, Miss Carlin Valenzuela, and Miss Isa Diniega. We are tackling about the post-reading stage. In post-reading stage, we have post-reading and real-world reading, role of the teacher in post-reading stages, and interactive post-reading activities. Let's go to post-reading and real-world reading. Post-reading is a strategies give learners a way to summarize, reflect, and question what they have just read. Here are the three post-reading teaching strategies to try in your class today. Exit sleeps. The exit sleep post-reading tactic is used to help learners reflect on what they have just learned. What is the purpose of post-reading? The purpose of post-reading is first, after reading, ask students to write down a set number of pieces of information what they now know about the topic. Example, 5 to 6 sentences. Number 2, write each sentence on one strip of paper or cardboard. When they have finished, students work in small groups to share their sentences. Number 3, students take turns reading what they have written. If more than one student has written a similar sentence, they must decide which one to keep. Number 4, lastly, once all of the sentences have been read and selected, the group organizes the sentences in categories or in a logical sequence. The group may then add another sentences to fill in any missing gaps. Answering questions in writing, whether they be comprehension, questions at the conclusion of chapters, the end of chapters, or questions given out by the teacher, is the most obvious and frequently employed after reading approach. Let's go to real-world reading. In real-world reading, students learn survival reading techniques along with key vocabulary words for a variety of everyday texts, such as menus, labels, maps, bills, credit card statements, and job applications. What is the importance of real-world reading? The importance of real-world reading is essential and serves as a basic building block for learning, regardless of the school subject. Let's say it be language, arts, or even math. In daily life, the need to read things such as street signs or prescriptions proves reading is also an important life skill. Reading strengthens the brain and improves memory. In addition, helping children develop social emotional skills and of course imagination, it aids in their learning to make sense of both the physical world and other people. Reading exposes us to a variety of reading genres, forms, voices, and styles. What is the purpose of real-world reading? The purpose of real-world reading is 1. Reading improves brain function. A person who reads every day gets better at it over time. Number 2. Reading reduces stress. Modern life is a stressful period. Number 3. Reading can improve your state of mind. Some of us finds reading as a peace of mind. Number 4. Reading improves overall wellness. Number 5, lastly, reading aloud to children has a lasting impact. And before we go to the next slide, I have a question for you. And you can answer the question by typing your answer at the comment section. My question is, do post-reading and real-world reading are helpful to us? Why or why not?
And now now let us proceed to rules of teaching in post-reading stage. Teacher can be teach phonics to readers or students for initial stage and help them to produce the sounds of letter and the words properly. Teacher will be the best helpful for them to know what is the pronunciations of the word and how it will use in the sentences. They should also emphasize word writing in the primary grade as indirect associated with a reading program. Kailangan daw gumagawa din tayo o sumasagawa din tayo teacher ng isang activity kung saan mas matututo ang mga estudyante kung ano nga bang gamit ng salitang yun. Then they can also teach them syllabications to recognize new words. Ito yung mga acronym na ginagamit para mas patandaan ng isang estudyante yung mga salitang binanggit sa topic or sa lesson na nangyari. And now let us discuss the rules or the rule of teacher in a post-reading stage. First is information provider. The teacher are the primary source of information for students to understand, analyze, apply, and create new text based on what they read. Next is facilitator. The teacher will be the facilitator of the students to work with the group or with their classmates, guide the students to think the best and practice, and encourage the students to be active when it comes to participation. The planner. The teacher is the one who plan and what are the materials that they will use to ensure the lessons is appropriate for the students' understanding, comprehensions, and ability. They are also the one who make appropriate activities to different learning in the class. Fourth is resource developer. Teacher may help the students to develop their skills of locating, evaluating, or organizing what they read. And fifth is diagnostician. Next is diagnostician. Teachers are able to recognize the cause of the students' difficulty in reading. Sila yung tumitingin kung ano nga ba yung nagiging sanhi kung bakit nahihirapan yung estudyante yung makabasa. If meron nga bang disabilities or mahina yung pag-iisip or mahina kung paano siya magbasa. Next is monitor. The teachers goes around the class during individual, pair, group works, activities, checking if they are really learning. Sila yung nagsisilbing taga-monitor kung totoo nga bang natututo yung estudyante or kailangan pa nila mas tutukan yung estudyante yun kasi nga nahuhuli sa klase. Next, catalyst and involver. Students, make sure all the students are taking part in the activity. Sila yung nagsisilbing gumagawa ng activity na kung saan yung isang estudyante ay nakikipag-ugnay o nakikipag-communicate or elaborate sa kapwa niya estudyante para mas mabahagi niya yung anong nalaman niya. And now that we are done to know the rule of teacher in post-reading stage, I have a question in my mind and I would like you to answer this question. And the questions will be typed on comment section above in this video. Okay, my question is, for you, what is the best rule of teacher in post-reading stage? Is the best way to handle a class? That's the question.
Alright, we are done to the role of the teacher in post-reading stage, and now let's bow down to interactive post-reading activities. So what is interactive post-reading activities or post-reading activities? Post-reading activities are simply activities performed after the activities. At this stage, the students are experiencing a temporary change of state or condition. So they now know something or they did not know before. So that is post-reading activities. Next slide. So according to Hammer 2007, reading comprehension should not be alienated from the other skills. So sabi ni Hammer, ang pag-unawa sa pagbasa ay hindi dapat ihiwalay sa iba pang mga kasanayan. So in reality, for example, we tend to talk about what we have read, especially when the content is actual and interesting, unexpected, or simply strange and unbelievable. So that is what Hammer wants to convey in her statement. We may link reading and writing. So as a result, we can connect reading and writing, for example, summarizing, taking notes, or mentioning what we read in a letter. So we might link reading and speaking by discussing what we have learned from a reading passage and retelling stories. So that is the interactive post-reading activities according to Hammer. Again, according to Hammer, the year of 2007, reading comprehension should not be alienated from the other skills, and we may link reading and writing. For example, summarizing, taking notes, or mentioning what we read in a letter. Next slide. So, there are many activities that will refine, enrich, and increase interest in the assigned topic of a text. So, however, the primary goal of the post-reading phase is to further develop and clarify interpretation of the text and to help students remember what they have individually created in their minds from that text. So, to further develop and clarify interpretation of the text. So, halimbawa, si student kapag nagbasa, madidevelop yung kanyang pag-unawa at pag-interpret doon sa kanyang binabasa. And the second one is to help students remember what they have individually created in their minds from the text. So, sa pamamagitan nito, natutulungan si student na maalala or kanyang matandaan ang mga bawat salitang kanyang nabubuo sa kanyang isipan mula sa kanyang binabasang text. So, again, the primary goals of their post-reading phase is to further develop and clarify interpretations of the text and to help students remember what they have individually created in their minds from the text. So that is the primary goal of the post-reading phase. The next one is the post-reading activities. So we have 4 good post-reading activities. The first one is to get the student to recycle some aspect from the other's reels from the activities. And the second one is to go beyond the text. And the third one is to share opinions, ideas, feelings, and lastly is to give reason to communicate. So what is the meaning? What is the meaning to get the student to recycle some aspect from the reels and reading activities? So pag sinabi nito, ito yung para makuha ng mga mag-aaral, yung mga na i-recycle nila yung mga ilang aspeto mula sa kanilang mga aktibidad habang nagbabasa. So, yun yung sabi sa first bullet. And the second one is to go beyond the text. So, in Tagalog, pag sinabi natin to go beyond in the text, ito yung upang lumagpas sa lumagpas sa teksto. Pero pag sinabi natin na bibigyan pa natin ng ibang kahulugan, ito yung magkakaroon ng parang makaka-relate si student doon sa kanyang binabasa. And the next one is to share opinions, ideas, and feelings. So sa pamamagitan ng pagbabasa, si student kapag nagbasa, nandun nakakapagbahagi siya ng kanyang mga opinions, nakakabuo siya ng sarili niyang ideas, at at naibabahagi niya din yung kanyang paraan ng pagbabasa sa pamamagitan ng kanyang kung ano yung kanyang nararamdaman. So that is to share opinions, ideas, and feelings. And the lastly is to give reasons to communicate. So, pag tayo nagbasa or si student nagbasa, ito ay nagbibigay ng paraan para si student ay makapag-communicate. So, paano ba nangyayari yon? Ganito yon. So, student kapag nagbasa, madami siyang nabubuong question sa kanyang isipan. Madaming mga tanong sa kanyang isipan na hindi niya kayang sagutin. So, dahil doon, pwede siyang magtanong sa kanyang guardian, sa parents, kay teacher, sa kanyang mga friends, or kay classmate. So, pag nagtanong siya doon, so doon mabubuo yung communication. So, pag nakausap niya na si friend, tapos sinagot ni friend yung tanong niya, so nagkabuo sila ng communication. So, that is what we call communication. So, to give reason to communicate. So, again, the post-reading activities, are to get the student to recycle some aspect from their Wells reading activities. And the second one is to go beyond the text. And the third one, to share opinions, ideas, feelings. And lastly, we have to give reasons to communicate. So that is the interactive post-reading activities. So here I prepare one questions, and these questions is your participation. And my question here is, give me 2 examples of interactive post-reading activities that I mentioned in my discussion. So you will comment on your answers in our comment box in Google Classroom. So that will be your participation. So you need to answer that question, because that will be your participations and also your attendance. So again, my question is, give me 2 examples of interactive post-reading activities that I mentioned in my discussions. So you will comment on your answer in our comment box in our Google Classroom. So that's it. I hope you learned to my discussions. If you have any question, clarifications, don't hesitate to message me or send me a private message on my messenger. So that's all. Again, I am Alexandria Cisamarita. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Miss Alex. The first interactive post-reading we will discuss is the focus on listening. There are 2 activities under the focus on listening: the identifying differences and add-on information. Let's start with identifying differences. The teacher will read a text or other literary pieces in front of the class. Then the student will identify the changes in the text that the teacher reads. Then, after they write down the changes they have noticed, ipag-prepare up sila. Then, they will discuss to their peers the changes they have noticed. Then, after that, the teacher will divide the class into 4 groups, wherein she will let the students discuss their answers in the group. Then, they will write down their answers. The answer of the group 1 must be different from the answer of the other groups. Then, sa variation naman niya, the teacher will divide the class into 2 groups, wherein magpaparamihan sila ng sagot. Then, magbibigay ng time allotment yung teacher. Kunyari, 5 minutes, dapat matapos na nilang isulat yung lahat ng sagot nila. Then, kung sino yung pinakamaraming sagot, syempre, siya yung panalo. Let's move on to the add-on information. Add-on information, dito naman, the teacher will read again the text or the other literary pieces. Then, pagkatapos niyang ibasahin yung literary pieces, she will ask the insight of the students. Then the student 1 will give her short insight about the text that the teacher reads. Then, student 2 will repeat the student 1 answer or insight. Then, she will give her other insight, then student 3 will repeat the student 1 and 2 answers, then she will add another insight from the class. Then it will continues, the activity will continues up until every student will give their insights. The insight must be short so that lahat ng estudyante is maalala nila yung sinabi ng bawat isa, kasi kailangan nga nilang ulitin simula sa umpisa hanggang sa kasunod nila, hanggang sila na yung magbibigay ng insight. And that's all. I hope you get, or I hope you learn and understand the two activities under the interactive post reading, focus on listening. But before I give the screen to Miss Kerlin, I have one question. If you really listen to my discussion, what are the two activities under the focus on listening? I'm now passing the mic to Miss Kerlin. Miss Kerlin?
Thank you, Miss Annette Gwen Balvin. And now let's go to interactive post-reading activities focused on speaking. So there are 7 ways to do the following activities of focusing on speaking. The first ones, we have TV reporters. So in TV reporters, students can pretend to be television reporters with 2 minutes to sum up the highlights of the story. And the second one, we have main idea. Student list the 5 or more main idea of the text, beginning with the most important to the list, not the following order in the text. The third one is teacher absent students. So students become the teacher and explains what was covered in class with the student who was absent. The fourth one is debate. The student can take specific sides of a topic and debate an issue, depending on the levels of students. The fifth one, we have hot seat. One student becomes the writer of a text or a character in a text, answering the class questions. The sixth one is vanishing clause. So the teacher adds the blanks until no more words are left. So although it is a teacher-centered activity. Then we have team review. Team review, students review materials already studied and share their knowledge with other students. So here I prepare one question. My question is, what do you call the interactive post-reading activity focusing on speaking, wherein the student can pretend to be television reporters with about 2 minutes to sum up the highlights of the story? So if you are true listening to my discussion, so you will answer it. You can answer or type the answer in Google Classroom, the chat box of Google Classroom. So that's all. Thank you.
Alright, so now we are going to tackle about the last part of this discussion, which is interactive post-reading activities focused on writing. So as future educators, it is very important for us to know that about the different activities which we can use in order to better improve the writing skills of our students. So for the first activity, we can have the story innovation. So in this activity, the students are assigned to create a story based on any part of the text. So it is just basically, we were just basically asking the students to write another twist of the story, another innovation or innovative innovative part of the story. For example, after reading the story Boy Who Cried Wolf, the students had to write a story based on the part when the villagers were tricked for the first time. One created story was, the villagers were angry. Mrs. Doubtfire scolded the boy, "You naughty boy, you made me spill my delicious vegetable soup. Shame on you." She went back home and had to make the soup all over again. So on this part, the part of Mrs. Doubtfire is not actually in the entire in the original story, but it is just an example wherein one student innovated the story by adding another twist. another part, in a specific part of the story. Now, next one, we have the innovation on the ending. Students change the ending of the story. For example, after reading The Boy Who Cried Wolf, whose ending was a wolf really came and ate some of the boy's sheep, a student wrote, "The wolf ate the boy, so the villagers live happily and peacefully ever after." So in this activity, that it gives twist. It we ask the students to give twist to a story. So instead that the original story is about the wolf eating the sheep of the boy. So one students made a twist wherein the boy was being eaten by the wolf. So the villagers were now peacefully doing their work without being disturbed by the boy. Okay, so now the third part, we have cartoon strip. We can also ask our students to make cartoon strip. It is when the students have to create a comic for a scene in the text. So I think it's very familiar for us to make a cartoon strip or cartoon comics. In this activity should be done in small groups in which there must be one student who can draw or make use of the clipboard program. The group decides the content of the story and helps the artist to make or to create the strip. This activity should not be carried out when only a few students can draw. So it is very important. It is a very good opportunity for us teachers to encourage collaboration among our students. It's because this comic strip can be easily done, especially when in groups. It's because so the other students might give the idea on what to draw, and the other student who is more talented in drawing will do the drawing part. So it is more of collaborative, and it encourages collaboration, communication, and also brainstorming. This is very a good way in which the students can brainstorm. Now for the fourth part or the fourth activity, we have the readers theater, where it is wherein the students create a short play based on the text. The teacher, however, should remind the students not to overdo the preparation. With young learners, lots of moments plays of words can be done. With older students, an impromptu short skit or a short play taking a 5-minute preparation would be suffice. So, in the readers theater, for example, they have read a certain passage, and we can ask them to perform a short play based on that text in order to improve their reading skills, and also how they read, or the placement of the words, or the speed. Diyan natin makikita kung who is the good reader, who is the good students who can actually fluently speak or read the particular text. Okay, so next we have here the fifth one, which is wanted posters. Students create wanted posters of a character in the text. So for the princess and the pea, for example, the poster would be pictures of princesses and the description of ideal princess. So it's just basically like this in the picture, and they're going to put the drawing of the princess, or put the character of the story, and then you're going to write the name and put wanted on it. Now next we have here the story mob. Students create story mobs that can be used by others to retell the story. To make this activity more interactive and meaningful, a one-story, three-stray cooperative learning activity can be implemented so that the learners learn from other groups and can give and take information as well as inspiration from others. So, in the story mob, wait lang. So in the story map, for example, we can give an activity to the students, or for example, it's a group activity, and we are going to ask them to retell the story using the story map. So each member must contribute something. For example, they have one person must contribute who are the characters of the story, and the other might tell what is the setting, and the other might pass it to the other member to for him to write what is the problem, what is the point of view, just like that. So that everyone can express their ideas and they learn from each other. They give and take information. Now for the seventh one, we have here the clipping. In groups, students produce a poster containing several pictures related to the topic of the text. These pictures could be contained in the text or produced by the students themselves. Then, representatives of each group describe the picture to students who play the role of guests of an exhibition. Okay, so for the clipping, we are going to just ask the students to make pictures or posters about the characters, for example, in the story, and then we're going to ask them to explain it in front of the class. Next, for the eighth one, we have summarizing. This activity enables students to identify writers' main ideas, recognize the purpose or intent of the selection, distinguish between relevant and irrelevant information, note the evidence of support of main ideas, detect the organizational pattern of the author, and follow material sequentially. Note, students can share, compare, and discuss individual summaries in groups or a class. Many times, discussions will lead to observations of different interpretations, which students have not previously recognized. So in this part, so in summarizing, it is just basically we are going to ask the students to summarize the important notes or the important ideas in the story, or maybe we can ask them what is the purpose of the story, what is the background or the background of the author, or what are the important ideas and the evidences to support the main ideas, and also what lesson it will give to the students or to us. So to make it more interactive, it is better if we can ask every students to share their summarized ideas or their summarized writings. They can share it to or discuss it to the class so that everyone will learn from each other. Now for the ninth activity we have here, composing a test. So preparing an actual test is a valuable tool in helping students decide the main purpose and the most relevant information found in a text. So this can be done in several ways. First, we have each student write 1 to 2 test questions, compile these, and actually create the test from students' questions. So why should we ask the students some question? It is because we may so that we can we are going to ask them to give us at least 1 to 2 questions. It is so that we may see, or we may understand, or what part of the story they clearly have understand, because what they can create is what they have learned or what they have understand. Now for the second way, we have divide students into small groups. Each group is responsible for writing a test. Okay, so these tests are distributed around the class so that each group has another group's test to answer. The answers are handed back to the group who originated the test to be corrected. So it is more interactive this way, because everyone or every group has to answer each other's questions. Now the third one, have the students compile a class test that you will use for future classes. They can complete the questions individually or in groups. The test they create can be a valuable tool in reviewing for the actual test. So, as future teachers, and if we are going to give tests to the students, we can just base or use some of the tests that they have made so that they could somehow answer because they did it on their own and they learned from it. Now we have here the agony column. So number 10, we have agony column. Student write a reply letter to a character in the text about how to solve a problem. For example, it is just about it. It's like we are going to ask for their opinions or their way on how to solve the problem. So for example, we have here it is a letter to the character in the story. So, dear Vince, it seems that you have a difficulty understanding your partner's hobby. You hate her music while she loves it so much, so it becomes a real problem. I think you had better take my advice to help you solve the problem. Here is what you should do. You have to realize that every person has his or her own hobby. So, etc. by Vendra Kerry 2006. So, this problem is all about the girl and the man who have different hobbies or different hobbies. The other one hates music and the other one loves it. So the solution that the student gave is that it is better to just understand or realize that every person has his or her own hobby. Okay? As simple as that. Now we have here the 11th activity, which is the lessons for living. So students write what they learned from the text in the form of a letter to a close friend or to the editor of the newspaper. So it's the same from the agony column, which is in a way of a letter. But in the lessons for living, it is more about reflections of the student on what he learned, what lessons he or she learned from the particular story. Now, for example, we have here a lesson that I can get from this article is that in making regulations in plural society like Indonesia, we have to include the issue wisely. We cannot judge something from one side. It is hard to change a costume in a society, etc. So, for lessons for living, it is more about applications in real life on what she actually learned, and it is lessons which he or she can apply in his or her life. Basing on particular. Now we have here the 12th, which is the character's diary. So this is about a student have to pretend to be a character and writes a diary based on the story. So we're going to ask the students here to put himself or herself into that character's shoes. So for example, we have here Thursday, March 21, 2006, 11 p.m. Dear Diary, I thought my life was over because I have a boyfriend now and I don't really like him that way. And I have to break up with him without hurting his feelings, which is, I guess, probably impossible, etc. So, wait. So here, we are asking or we are telling the students to, for example, imagine that he or she is the character in the story, and that is what he can write or say. Okay? So that it's like a diary na kung saan he or she is free what she is going to say as a character. Okay, so that is the last topic that is the last activity for our lesson. Now we are going to have our recitation question, which is, what interactive post-reading activity is used when the teacher asks the students to change the ending of the story? So you're going to put your answers together with the other answers from the previous discusser, and then it will serve as your recitation. Okay, so we have here the reference for this topic. You can just click that if you want to learn more about the lesson. Now, these are all the entire recitation questions from the previous parts of this discussion, which were given by the other reporters. So the first one, you have, do post reading and real world reading helpful to us? Why or why not? The second one, what is the best rule for a teacher to handle the class? The third one, give 2 examples of interactive post reading activities that I have mentioned on my discussion. Now for the fourth one, again, what are the 2 interactive post reading activities focused on listening? And then the fifth one, what do you call the interactive post reading activity focusing on speaking, wherein the students can pretend to be television reporters with about 2 minutes to sum up the highlights of the story? And lastly, we have, what interactive post-reading activity is used when the teacher asks the students to change the ending of the story? So these questions, you should answer these entire 6 questions, and you can just write your answers in the comment section of this announcement in the G classroom. Now, to the last part, the last thing that you are going to do is the activity, which is a handwritten essay. So you are going to write a 300-word handwritten essay that answers the questions. What is the importance of post-reading stages to you as a student and the effect on your future students in the teaching field? So just always remember that plagiarism is never allowed in our institution. Now, we have here the rubrics. For the originality, we have 10 points. We have 10 points also for the content or relevance, and another 10 points for organization of ideas. And for the creativity and visual impact, we also have 10 points. And lastly, for timely submission, we have 10 points. So I guess that's all for today. We are thanking you so much for listening. We hope that you learned a lot from this discussion. Thank you.